is power. You are listening to information that please be sure to subscribe to this
In the White House, the United States name.
Information is power. Information is power.
Okay, everybody, this is Information Man. I have an announcement to make. I don't know if the brother is on with me right now. I was supposed to do a live stream with Real Brother. Everyone knows who he is. Very controversial brother. We were supposed to be talking about the issues around the Russians and their infiltration as it relates to the election of Donald Trump in 2016.
Tell the truth.
And what I wanted to do is not get into a lot of hearsay or to talk about conspiracy theories, is so much to use information that is based on true data. First of all, can everybody in the chat room hear me? I see Gigi, August Dreams in there, Hash TV, Colleague Girls World. Hey, I sent you a link, Colleague Girls World, and I sent Brother Cap. I sent you a link. So check your phones, check your emails or your phones to come on board the program. What's going on, Hobby Money? Cap, I sent you a link to come on board. I've got Real Aaron Collin on with me right now. So check your emails. Check out your Google Hangout on your phone or on your computer. I sent both of you, Colleague Girl World, I sent you a link to the show. That's what link to come on board the panel. And I sent Cap, I sent you a link as well. So that's what, so I guess everybody can hear me. That's a good thing. I was concerned about whether everybody could hear me or not. So very important. I just want to say peace and love to everybody out there. What I want to do is I have some sound bites that I will play for you. This is radio style. I do have a podcast. If you look in the description of this video today, you will see where it says check out my podcast. The podcast is not a YouTube channel. It is a separate podcasting network that I'm a part of. You can hear me on Spotify, iTunes, which would be Apple Podcasts. You'll hear me soon on Apple Podcasts. I'm also on Podbeam. I'll be on there very soon. Archer, I am on Archer, but I've got to load up some more new material to the Archer podcast. So you're going to hear me on that. And then there's iHeartRadio Podcast Network. I'm on there as well. And as well, my main state is Spreaker. So check me out. I'll be dropping the podcast in the community tab from time to time. I also created a Facebook page utilizing Facebook to also promote the podcast as well. And I also have a separate podcast Instagram, which is called Information Man Podcast 06. You can follow me over there. And of course, that's on Instagram. And of course, on Twitter, you can follow me at Clinton06. You can find me over there. Now, on the avatar, as you can see right there, there is Real Brother. I'm a little disappointed. We talked earlier today. He was supposed to be on with me. I wanted him on with me about this issue. I've been sending him links to come on board. And I don't know if the brother overslept or there's a family situation that came up or what have you. But usually when he says he's going to be somewhere, he is. So I decided that, you know what they say in show business, the show must go on. Break a leg, right? No matter what happens. What's going on, Queen? I know I am. Thank you for being here. And then we got my man, Malcolm Fletch TV, who I should send him a link so that he could be a part of this discussion today. Matter of fact, I will send brother Malcolm Fletch TV a link as soon as I disengage from the avatar. So that avatar that you see was going to be the thumbnail for the video today with Real Brother. And if he shows up, because I sent him the link several times, if he shows up today, then the show will be what it is, a Real Brother being a part of it. And hopefully he'll wake up from his sleep or whatever situation and come on and join us. So what I think I'll do, I will do, everybody, is that I will go ahead and send my man Malcolm Fletch TV the link, because I know he does research. He did a brilliant job as when he did a show one night, the first time I've encountered this brother, where he talked about how social medias are being manipulated. Whatever you say, if you talk against certain groups, particularly, let's say Israel, for example, and you say certain key words, you can be affected by this, right? And so I know a lot of people have kind of laughed and gawked at the issue around whether Russia interfered in the election of 2016. I'm here to tell you that not only did Russia have some influence on the election, but primarily what the show is about is Russia targeted African-American social media. Information Man and Real Brother Network supposed to be on here, but he's not with me right now. And hopefully he'll be on. What I want to do today is present to you an argument and facts that the Russians indeed created a false discourse and a false narratives and propaganda in which they used Black media. But the area in which they really affected Black media is in the area of Black radio and Facebook and Instagram. They really ratchet up their attempts on Instagram. And a lot of us Black folks, some of us don't realize what was done to us. There's a thing called social engineering. And as you know, YouTube has algorithms, and algorithms manipulate how much attention your channel gets. When people come in the chat room, it watches things, right? And I've been in situations where I've seen people on their chat room. What's going on, Art Newsom TV? Make sure you guys all go over there and give that brother love in his channel. All of you that are in the chat room right now, if you want to follow each other and show each other that you're following each other and give each other love, why don't you go ahead and put an Apple symbol or a check mark or say, hey, I'm following you now. Everybody in the chat room, support each other's channels, because everybody in that chat room are very good people. There are very good people in this chat room. Miss Buckner is in that chat room. I want to give love to all of you out there. We got Filthy Franks is in there. Thank you, Franks, for being here. We got the In Real Acklinus. I can't pronounce the name. I'm sorry, sister. What I'll do is I will highlight your name and say peace to you. So I would say use the Apple symbol. You can use a flower symbol, a globe symbol, to let people know that you're going to be following their channels. I know that the using the sub word is sort of bad for the algorithms on YouTube these days. I want to thank you all for being here once more again. And let me all give you all a clap.
Tell the truth. You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel. Now, let's get back to the Information Man show.
So I'm going to give you some data here. I've got some sound bites. There's a brother who is a brilliant radio talk show host. He is the best in the business. You might have heard of him. He goes by the name of Joe Madison, the Black Eagle. Joe Madison's been in the radio game for over 30 years. You can hear him only exclusively on Sirius XM radio if you have a subscription, okay? And on this program, he had a man named James Clapper. If you don't know who James Clapper is, James Clapper under the Obama administration was head of intelligence, of national intelligence of this country. So he was the head man in charge of intelligence in the United States of these Americas. I have exclusive sound bites from the show in which James Clapper, who has just released a book, Facts and Fear, where he talks about how the Russians infiltrated the election, but not only that, how they targeted African-American people in the social media realm, and how they wanted to create the false discourse, as I said earlier. James Clapper also speaks about how the Russians and other groups, the Chinese, they actually enjoy some of the political theater and buffoonery that you're seeing in this country right now between Donald Trump. I don't really want to say his name. Let me go with what Spike Lee says.
In the White House, I'm not going to say his name.
That damn guy in the White House, how they're enjoying the buffoonery that's going on in our country politically. Another thing, Putin, Vladimir Putin. I'm a child of the 80s. I was born in 1969. I grew up during the 80s at a time when we used to have nuclear drill, where we would get under the table for nuclear possible drills of blast of our destruction. Okay? And that you know that you can't survive a nuclear blast, but we used to have those drills when I was a kid. It was commonplace for them to tell us how many nuclear missiles they had and how many nuclear missiles the United States had. And you would have Russians. At that time, it was the USSR, the Soviet Union. And Vladimir Putin was a part of the KGB, baby.
Information is power.
This is the reason why Donald, that guy in the White House.
In the White House, I'm not going to say his name.
This is the reason why he's out of his scope. He is nothing but a lapdog for Donald Trump. Is Putin's dog because he's manipulating him. Donald Trump is a guy from Queens who made his money from his father. He grew up with a silver or gold spoon in his mouth from his father, Fred Trump. And Fred Trump, as you know, he was a sympathizer of the Ku Klux Klan. Matter of fact, he got himself arrested in 1922 fighting against the police because he was on the side of the Klan. We do know that Donald Trump, along with his father, Donald Trump's father, when he was alive, did not want black people living in his housing projects. He didn't want them living in his housing, the houses that he constructed in New York. They're apartments, let me say apartments. We do know that Donald Trump was put under federal indictment for his housing discrimination. We do know that Donald Trump took out a spent $5,000 on an ad to condemn the Central Park Five. And those young men today are speaking out, particularly Yusuf Solomon. So if I'm saying his name, Brother Yusuf, is an article out right now where he talks about the racism of Donald Trump and what Donald Trump did to those young men, which he's never apologized for. We do know that Donald Trump got involved in the political race due to pushing this birther narrative on President Obama, because President Obama clowned him at an event. And after that, he had it out for Obama. And as a result, he said that Obama was not a citizen. He said he was going to send people out to Hawaii to do investigation, which never turned out. And yet he demands for Obama to show his birth certificate and his grades. Yet Donald Trump has never shown any of us his taxes, his birth certificate, or his grades in school. The man that calls himself a extraordinary, I mean, what does he call himself? This guy is always calling himself something of the ordinary, out of the ordinary. But he calls himself the most stable, what do you call it? Most stable genius is what Donald Trump calls himself. He is the most stable genius. That in itself tells me that Trump very much has some deficits when he's saying things like that. So let me get back to
In the White House. I'm not gonna say his name.
Let me disengage the thumbnail and move forward with the program as we have my man, Real Aaron Collins, on the other side. And I hope Real Brother will show up at some point in time and join the panel. How you doing, Brother Real Aaron Collins?
Well, Info Man, glad you reached out to me today. This is yeah, you said some pretty heavy stuff there. Like I was saying before, I mean, about as far as Russia is concerned, Russia and the United States have always been off and on enemies for decades. I'm like you, I'm a child of the 80s as well, born in 71, and I would hear little bit rumors and bits and pieces of Russia. They're gonna one day attack the United States, and I mean, most of my life during the 80s, especially.
Well, if you are a millennial or you're just born, you really don't have a grasp. You can read history, but it's one thing to read history and to have lived it. I lived it. Ronald Reagan, much as I didn't like Ronald Reagan, and it was a point in this time in this country that if you said anything favorable to Russia, people looked at you sideways. But some kind of way, the discourse has changed where you can be clowned. People are giving this particular individual in office a pass as much as he courts the Russians the way he does. And let me let you know something right now. Do you know that in Russia right now, they've got a billy goat? And I'm gonna tell you something right now. I can't stand billy goats. They eat anything. They're bottom feeders. I don't like a goat. They're bottom feeders. They eat any goddamn thing. They got this demonic look to them. But do you know in Russia right now, they have a goat and they're calling the goat. Guess what name they have for the goat?
Gabby.
No, they're calling the goat Obama.
Oh, wow.
Because Putin was very racist as it relates to Obama. He never liked Obama because Obama, he knew he was not going to curry certain favor from Obama. And he likes Donald Trump because Trump, whether people want to admit it or not, he has had some business dealings over there in Russia. He's got his whole family going over there to Russia, engaging in all sort of business dealings because they're trying to set themselves up. He's trying to set himself up for after the White House. And there are some out there that are saying that Donald Trump never actually really wanted to be the president. He was doing it to sort of bring attention to himself, and then all of a sudden he realized, oops, I'm gonna get elected here. Shit. Right. So those are some of the rumors that are out there politically about Donald Trump. But primarily what I want to say to you all, and let me just read this right here. This is you can find this in the New York Times. It's Russia 2016 influence operation and target African Americans on social media. The Russian influence and campaign on social media in 2016 election made an extraordinary effort to target African Americans used in tactics to suppress turnout amongst Democrat voters and unleash a bazaar of activity on Instagram that rivaled and exceeded its post on Facebook, according to a report produced for Senate Intelligence Committee. So this article that I'm going to be reading from and the sound bites I'm going to be playing is about what Russia and their involvement is in oppressing the vote, suppressing the vote. Now, I know in some of the black radio, because I listen to a lot of black radio outside of YouTube, there were a barrage of black people and people calling up black radio stations during this time and saying things like black people should not vote, don't vote for this, don't do that. And they were trying to attack specifically Democrat, what you would call Democratic or more liberal black radio, because in general, black people do tend in this country to vote more on the liberal or Democratic side. And don't get me wrong, the Democrats have not done enough for black people at all, which is why we definitely need to determine where we want to put our votes at, because the Democrats have been abysmal as it relates to giving black people tangibles. Tangibles 2020 is what we're looking for. So we need tangibles and not just this trickle down economics. You got Bernie Sanders, you've got Joe Biden, who has a terrible record. Joe Biden was one of the main people who was pushing the crime bill that incarcerated a lot of black men, along with Bill Clinton. This is your liberals. And now he's running and saying, give me a second chance, and trying to appeal himself to black people. You got Kamala Harris, who was a cop in California. I know her record very well. And she was very inconsistent in the way she ruled and went about doing things that actually affected black men here in California as it related to the law. So politics, or what I would call politics, is a serious problem. You have to be able to look at things critically, but it doesn't. And what Russia did is that they looked at what we would call they looked at our racism in America. They looked at our discombobulated discourse, our inability to get along with each other, to understand each other, and they used it against us in creating the algorithms and the manipulation on social media to sort of shape the election of 2016. The reason why I'm bringing this up, if anybody out there listening who's saying, well, why are you talking about this right now, brother? That was 2016. We've moved on. Obama's out of office. What's the big deal? It is a big deal. We've got an election coming up in a year from now in 2020. What you're going to hear, I'm going to play the soundbite from James Clapper, who was the intelligence director of this country under Obama. He was the head honcho. He said, you're going to hear it, that Russia is refining what they did a few years back. They're trying to look at what they did wrong, and they're going to refine it, and they're going to attack again. Putin in particular, the reason why this whole thing about Hillary Clinton's emails came out, all this shenanigans that came out, and everybody was involved in it, including the Democrats, because they didn't want Bernie. They didn't want Bernie to get elected because they see him as a socialist. And so they wanted to push Hillary's agenda, but at the same time, they were doing corrupt things too. And then at the same time, WikiLeaks dropped all this stuff out. Donald Trump was talking about, and remember, Donald Trump had a speech or a rally where he was saying, if you're listening to me, Russia, please give me us more information about Hillary. That to me is blasphemous, because you would have never seen Ronald Reagan do that, not even Bush Jr. or Sr., because they understood that Russia was an ultimate enemy to the United States. So for Donald Trump to sit up there and say things like that were very inflammatory to the history of this country as it relates to the whole political scene. But to put Hillary's junk out there, guess who liked this more than anybody? It was Vladimir Putin. Putin actually wanted to put this dirt out about Hillary, which is why he wanted Donald Trump to get in office, because Putin has had a vendetta against the Clintons for a long time, because he has felt that they have marginalized him, underestimated him, and that for a long time, Russia has wanted to be re-legitimized. And Putin, being the narcissist that he is, he wants to be legitimized on the world stage. So to have Hillary in there who would not legitimize him would be bad for him. But to get Donald Trump in office, who you can see clearly legitimizes Putin, clearly looks up to the man, clearly never has a negative thing to say about this man. And I noticed that Donald Trump tends to spend a lot of time looking up to and engaging himself with dictators who have a history of killing people and killing their own people. And Putin has a cold-blooded history of murder. But yet Donald Trump runs around, this chicken hawk Donald Trump, who did not join the military services. He got out of military services because he claimed he had bone spurs in his feet, right? This chicken hawk who's never served in the military at all, and I mean at all, runs around talking as if he's tough. And guess what? I'm going to say it again. He ain't nothing but Putin's dog. So with that said, I'm going to play the sound clip from one Donald.
In the White House, I'm not going to say his name.
Here's the clip from Joe Madison's program with James Clapper, who does have a book out talking about these issues a little bit more deeper. But listen to the things that he says in this audio. Please, folks, really listen to it. I'm not talking propaganda today. I'm talking stuff that came from the intelligence agency of this country under the leadership of James Clapper. Check this out.
Was looking for in the book Facts and Fears, and that was how the African American community, particularly those of us in the media, may have been targeted.
Oh yeah.
And you're nodding your head. Now I'm going to tell you that I was told by a very close family friend who is a columnist, and if I mention his name, you'd know, and also by Senator Warren from Virginia, one who co-chairs the Intelligence Committee. He pulled me aside and said, "Oh no, you guys were targeted. There was no ifs, ands, buts about it." That's a fact. We in our talk shows were targeted. And so why?
Well, what the Russians sought to do, and I think were eminently successful, and this was their first objective, was to sow doubt, discord, disbelief, distrust in this country. And so what they did is very cleverly and in a very sophisticated manner targeted groups in this country. So whether it was Black Lives Matter or white supremacists or pro-gun control, anti-gun control, pro-Muslim, anti-Muslim, it didn't matter, because what the Russians were trying to do was to sow divisiveness, capitalize on the divisiveness and polarization in this country. So they aimed messages, distorted, without, of course, making it clear what the source of these messages were, for various groups interest groups in this country. And obviously, African Americans were prime among them. And one of the things that I believe that happened is that they served to what the Russian effort did, among other things, was to depress the vote in some key states.
And that, in essence, was the goal, to suppress the vote on behalf of the candidate, Trump, in your opinion?
Well, the Russians understood that minority voters generally would, be in support of Democrats.
Right.
So they understand in a very sophisticated way the political fabric of our country. And so what they did was try to promote votes for Mr. Trump, because they decided after he became the nominee that his election would be better serve Russian interests than would the election of Hillary
So
Clinton.
what is Russia's interest?
Well, Russia's interest, and this starts with at the top with Vladimir Putin, is interested in undermining this country as much as possible. And by doing it through the means of an information operations campaign, the Russians thereby compensate for many of their other weaknesses. And for Putin, it's all about great power status and being recognized that way. So it starts with him. Plus the fact he had a very strong personal animus towards the Clintons, and particularly against Hillary Clinton, because he held her responsible for fomenting what he thought was a color revolution against him during their election in 2011. And so he was very strong dislike, animus, hatred towards Hillary Clinton.
Now, what about, and do you write about this in the book? If so, I may have missed it. This thought that the Trump enterprise, the Trump family, Trump himself, has some type of financial interest in Russia. This is something we talk about all the time. And look, you're the former head of intelligence. Is that true or is that not true?
If you don't know,
You don't know.
And there've been business dealings in the past, and as we've learned, there was negotiations going on well into the campaign for a Trump Tower in Moscow. But I didn't know from my position the actual extent and nature of any financial dealings between Russia and the.
Why wouldn't the intelligence community?
The FBI may know that, and you have to make a distinction here, Joe, between the unique position that the FBI occupies. It straddles both law enforcement and intelligence. And as DNI, the DNI doesn't govern the law enforcement part of what the FBI does. It does intelligence, but not the law enforcement part. So the DNI has no authority over initiating or conducting or evaluating or terminating investigations, investigations that potentially those that could lead to a criminal proceeding. So that's an important distinction. It's important to understand the role of the FBI, which changed profoundly after 9/11, when they changed from essentially a law enforcement organization to a law enforcement and a part of the intelligence community. But they straddle both those worlds.
And now another question, and I told the audience I would, and I think you may have heard this. In your opinion, what are world leaders, do you think they're thinking when they see this
Information
these news cycles we're in, with Pelosi saying this about the president saying this about the Speaker of the House? You know these folks. What are they thinking? And does this harm this country?
Adversaries love it.
Why do they love it?
Well, again, particularly the Russians, who are their objectives are political and trying to undermine us politically, undermine our fundamental system. So when they see this infighting going on politically, that is to that serves their ends, their purposes. Chinese have different objectives, but again, it's probably appealing to them. A greater concern, is our friends and allies who are very concerned about, and I do hear from many former colleagues, intelligence partners, that are quite concerned about this divisiveness, political divisiveness in this country.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
There you have it. There you have it, everybody. That is a clip. That's the first clip from James Clapper, who was the head man of the National Security Intelligence Agency of this country back when Obama was president. In that interview, James Clapper went on to say that out of all the presidents that he had a chance to work with and examine closely, he said that President Obama, and I know President Obama had his faults. There's certain things that he didn't do for Black people that we would have liked him to have done. But James Clapper said that Obama, when it came to the intelligence and safety of this country, he was very well prepared, that Obama read everything. He studied everything. He says when he examined and looked at Trump, as you already know, Trump does not read. He likes to go with his gut. He does not prepare himself when it comes to dealing with intelligence. So on the contrary, you have one man in Obama who prepared himself for when it came to dealing with intelligence information. And you have a man currently in the, that guy I'm talking about.
In the White House. I'm not going to say his name.
You have one guy in the White House who does not prepare himself. And James Clapper did say that in the continuing of that interview. So before I play the second part of what James Clapper stated about how we better prepare ourselves for 2020, let me go over to Real Aaron Collins and get his thoughts about what he just heard. So brother, unmute yourself. And after you say what you have to say, I want to give some shout outs to some folks. There's Brother Watts in the chat room who just super chatted me. I want to thank you for the super chat. I want to say what's up to Brenda Johnson in there, and many more that are in the chat room that are coming in, and everybody that's out there listening who's in the chat room and who's not in the chat room. Here's a clap to you all.
Information is power.
Information is power. Thank you. So with that said, my man, Real Aaron Collins, go right ahead. You've heard me run my mouth off a little bit here. You heard that clip. What are your thoughts?
Sounds like a pretty much a hit piece against the whole community. And really what he's doing is trying to brace us for things to come. And I've been hearing some different stories about 2020 that you might want to put a seatbelt on for this, because it all ties in. And for going back to what Putin was saying about he wanted dirt on Hillary. Well, that's no surprise there, because they didn't like Hillary to begin with, and it's always been a constant going on between the orange person and Clinton. So it's no shock. But yeah, all it is it's basically a hit piece, and they want to drag us into it. They want to put us in it like they've always done throughout the centuries. They have always put Black people under the bus, and have always used us as a buffer to get their agendas across. The thing is that when are we going to wake up and realize that we're being used? Why are we being used to implement their issues?
I would agree with you, brother. But let me just say something right here, too, if I may. Hang on for 1 minute. I'm going to see if I can send Real Brother another link, and hopefully he will wake up and come on in. But let me go right here and say this to everyone listening. Don't get me wrong. There's an old saying. Turn up my volumes here. There's an old saying. Now you guys can hear me a lot better. There's an old saying that what goes around comes around. Some would say that the United States had this coming to them by Russia, because as you heard General James Clapper say, that Putin has had an end for the Clintons and for the country because of how he felt they interfered in his election. Okay. And the United States, when you talk about espionage, the United States and Russia have both been spying on each other for years. They've had spies over here. We've got spies over there. They've been infiltrating all areas of our society. And so some would say that this is this is the hens coming home to roost, as Malcolm X would say, and this is the reason why they're having the problems they're having. Let me go ahead. Give me 1 minute, folks, while I go ahead and try to see if I can send a link to my man Malcolm Flex. So we're going to take a little bit of a break. I'll be right back with you in just a moment. A little bit of music for your enjoyment.
Information is power. You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
In the White House, I'm not gonna say it's
Now, let's get back to the Information Man show.
All right. Let's get back. So, Aaron, what I was going to say, brother, I send brother Malcolm Flex TV a link if he wants to come on and add anything to the discussion around this issue. I think it becomes an issue of hens coming home to roost. United States has done some things in the world to other countries, interfering in other countries' elected governments. They have been involved in coups. If you ever want to read a good book about this empire that we live in, check out John Perkins' Economic Hitman. And he kind of breaks it down because he was an economic hitman. He breaks it down how American society operates in this fashion when it comes to infiltrating and creating coups in the world and engaging in other governments, which is one of the reasons why we got this ISIS problem, because when they got rid of Saddam Hussein, who had these groups in check, it was almost like you cut the head off the main snake and many other snakes will come out. So the United States has had a history, and this is why some would probably say around the world they don't feel sorry about Russia possibly interfering in the election of 2016. Let me play, I think Malcolm Flex TV is coming on board. This may be either my man Malcolm Flex TV, or this could be real brother. Oh, it's Curly Girlie's World. She's come on board with us. But before I move on, let me read another part of this document to you all that's very important here. Russian campaign says here, the campaign was designed to attack Mr. Clinton, Mrs. Clinton, and boost Donald Trump to create and to use American division to create these problems. And as I said before, and you heard Joe Madison say that what they did is on YouTube, Check this out. On Facebook in particular. I wanted to bring up this issue here. Let me see right here. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. Facebook, 81 Facebook pages were created. So what the Russians did, they created fake Facebook pages. And as you know, you had the whole Analytica, Cambridge Analytica scandal that came out, in which Facebook was held accountable with Zuckerberg as the way that they use our personal information. And how often have you been on Facebook where someone will send you a message and they'll say, hey, if this person is trying to friend you, that's not really me, because they were making up fake accounts. They were studying your political views. They were creating fake stories to kind of galvanize and manipulate your emotions based on whatever your political views were. Okay. Now, this came out of the research page, Facebook pages created by the Internet Research Agency in Senate data, 30 targeted African American audiences. Okay, 1.2 million followers, the report found. So this was a study that was done by a research agency. Okay, this one, the new knowledge research discovered many examples of Russian operating and building an audience with one theme and then shifting to another, other more provocative sets of messages. For example, for instance, Instagram accounts called An Army of Jesus first posted in January of 2015 an image from the Muppet Show. Then they shifted to The Simpsons, and by 2016 became Jesus focused. Multiple memos associated Jesus with Mr. Trump's campaign and Satan with that of his rival Hillary. So this was the Russians, according to the United States intelligence, that was engaging in these fake accounts, engaging in fake propaganda, putting out messages, targeting African Americans, and particularly on YouTube. You can definitely be targeted easy on YouTube, because the fact of the matter is, people go on YouTube, they go into chat rooms. I'm not accusing anybody in my chat room right now, but if you don't know what people look like behind their avatar, then how do you really know that they are real African American people and not people pretending to be African American and saying all the things that you want to hear from someone that's Black in general, because they have had time to sit back and study what we talk about. That's why when we have these when we have panel discussions and you see tons of people in your chat room, you see tons of people, you see a small number of people in your chat room, and then you see a large number of people that are watching you. How do you know that that large number of people that are watching you are African American themselves and not other people maybe trying to observe us and our behavior, so that they know exactly the key words to say, the key phrases that trigger us, the key statements to say if they want to portray themselves as Black while they're in your chat room? So that's why when we get on these social medias and we behave in ways that are not favorable to us as a people, we have to realize that there's other people that are watching us and they're studying our behavior. Social science, baby. And they use that and they weaponize that against us on social media. And social media has an effect on our mood, our attitude. Hell, you've had people kill themselves because they didn't get enough likes on Facebook. You've had young ladies do this. On Instagram, you have women constantly putting pictures of themselves in these sexual manners for getting attention in some ways. So this media is so powerful. So powerful. Before I play my second clip, I have a guest on, and I want to go to Colleague Girls World. Sister, how you doing? I don't know if I'm saying your first name. I'm bad with names, but how you doing, sister? Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, sister. Okay, she can't hear me. God. Brother Malcolm Flex, brother, can you hear me? Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir, beloved.
All right, beloved. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm fine. And yourself, sir?
I'm doing great. I want to get your opinion. I was supposed to have the brother who calls himself Real Brother because he's pretty wild, brother. You know, he talks a lot about Russia and bombing, all this kind of stuff. He was supposed to be on with me today, and something happened.
Right.
But I want to get your opinion because you did an incredible video about how they manipulate stuff on social media. They manipulate and marginalize your channel when you're speaking truth. They're trying to protect certain groups. But the information that I've been talking about, brother, so far, it does come right out of the intelligence community of this country. And they are saying that Black people on social media were targeted by Russia in particular.
Right.
I don't know if you disagree with me, brother. I'm open to any difference of opinion, but what is your opinion about this issue? Go right ahead.
Yes, sir. First, I would like to open in the name of Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. Also like to bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his last and greatest messenger,
yes,
and exalted Christ. And also like to bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's divine warner and Messiah in our midst. And I would like to greet the chat room with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Yes, so
the truth.
So my thoughts on this is that understanding their ability to manipulate social media, they have the ability to guide the thinking of the people to a certain effect, to achieve a certain result. Okay. I believe that this conversation is basically targeting Black social media to manipulate the Black vote, ultimately to manipulate the Black vote. And we understand that like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stated before, that once they gave us the right to vote, they have been finding ways to take it from us. Okay, and this is just another example of that. You know, like when they was doing in the South, you know, that they was basically saying that you need, correct me if I'm wrong, that you need a permit or a license or something to vote. You know, and if you didn't have it, you wouldn't be able to vote. You know, so the question is, what would be Russia's purpose for manipulating the Black vote, and will they eventually try it again? You know, because there's a saying, you know, if you give me the first time, shame on you, and the second time, shame on me. Okay, so is this preventable? You know what I mean? And are there ways around it? Okay, right. And if we're going to vote, you know, the question is, who and what are we voting for? You know what I'm saying? You know, is that just, do we just rely on the Black vote? Is that our success story at the end of the day? Like, what is our purpose for voting? You know what I'm saying? That's the most important question, is what will be our purpose to go out and vote 2020? You know what I'm saying? And what can these candidates provide for Black people if we're going to give you our vote? You know what I mean? So right. There are some questions that we need to be answered.
All right. Let me, this is what I'm going to do. We got my man Prophet of Thought that's just come on. AM1, I just sent you a link if you want to come on and speak. Let me do this because brother Malcolm Fletch TV, you made a good point. And everybody in the chat room that's listening, check out Malcolm Fletch TV. Check out his channel. Check out Prophet of Thought's channel, AM1's channel, Real Aaron Collins' channel. Check these brothers out. Everybody follow each other, give each other support. Let me play my last soundbite that will be fitting to what you just said. What which was part of the interview that Brother Joe Madison did with James Clapper. And here it is, everybody. Here we go.
Thing in 2020, and why not? From a Russian standpoint, they enjoyed great success with, when you think about it, pretty minimal expenditure of resources, and it serves their objective.
It didn't cost them much.
No,
No.
and they will continue to do this. The reason they weren't quite as active in the midterm elections is because obviously it's not presidential, so the voting was much more diffused. All 435 members of the House of Representatives and 1/3 of the senators. So it's much more diffused. Whereas with the presidential election, you're focusing on one individual. So they'll be back. What worries me, of course, is by virtue of all of the information that's been revealed about what they did in 2016, notably the exhaustive detail in volume 1 of the Mueller report, they're going to go to school on this. The Russians will. So they will improve their security. They will figure out more ways to interfere and meddle than they did in 2016.
How do they go to school?
Well, they read these reports and they figure out what we were able to learn from about what they were doing. So they will go back and sort of reverse engineer. Well, how did we give that up to them? How did they learn that? And they'll go to school on that. And try to close those operational security gaps that have been revealed either in the indictments or volume 1 of the final Mueller report.
How do we then guard against it? We collectively, black, white, Republican, Democrat. But then part 2 of the question for this audience on Serious Urban View, how do we as African Americans guard against it? Because during the break you said something very interesting, is that most people probably didn't realize that you had agents that were instigating, and they didn't know that they were being used.
Well, just to quote one statistic from the Mueller report, the Russians reached 133 million people on Facebook alone, just one social media platform. And the way I think about this, Joe, is it's in 2 bins. One is how to secure the electoral apparatus, voter registration rolls, the means by which we tabulate votes, protecting all that, which is more technical and administrative. The other bin, which is much, much more difficult, which I think really is the essence of your question, how to get people to think about what they're seeing, reading, and hearing on the internet. And I do a lot of colleges and universities these days, and I try to implore young people who live on social media, don't believe everything you see, read, or hear. And you've got to try to instill in people a sense of critical thinking and to question the veracity of a source, and try to cross-check information before they go off and do something.
But James, that's difficult when people are in their own side.
Exactly. It's very difficult when, because of the tribal polarization in this country, to get people to do that. And, and there is so much divisiveness and polarization in this country that we sort of lost sight of the truth. Rand Corporation has a great turn of phrase here where we have a bad case of truth decay in this country. And the assaults on truth, and this is not just, I'm not pointing the finger necessarily only at President Trump, but the assaults on institutions that depend on truth, like your institution, the media, the press, or law enforcement, or intelligence, or science, or academic endeavors. These are all enterprises or endeavors that depend on the truth. And right now, that truth is under assault. As I say, great term, we got a bad case of truth decay in this country.
Information is power.
Okay, everybody, you heard the last clip of the day. It kind of fit right into what Brother excuse me, Malcolm Fletch TV was talking about. And as you can hear, James Clapper, who was the head man of the intelligence council, the intelligence of this country, I'm sorry, when Obama was president. He was the head guy. He's the guy that saw all the stuff that was going on. He saw the data. He has a book out about this. And so this is not just some conspiracy. Black people were impacted. And then let me read something to you right here that fits into this scope. Okay. Black voter turnout declined in 2016 for the first time in 20 years in a presidential election, but it's impossible to determine whether that was result of the Russian campaign. But I do find it sort of interesting that was the decline. That was the biggest decline in over 20 years. Now, you can say that some of that is because some black people have woke up and we've decided to get off the Democratic plantation. There were some people who did not vote at all because they didn't like either candidate. There are black people that are saying to themselves, the Democrats, we're going to hold them accountable. We're not voting for them. You had independent voters who went over to Trump. And let's be honest, Hillary Clinton, with all of her evil history and her things that she has said about black men being toxic, or that we're super predators and all that type of stuff. A lot of folks did not like Hillary Clinton. She was a flawed candidate. The Clintons have never been favorable, particularly the Republicans don't like them. So there was a lot going against Hillary, whether on both sides, black people being Republicans, black people being conservative, and we just weren't feeling Hillary Clinton. She was not the best candidate. Then you had the fiasco where Bernie, the man who doesn't want to talk about reparations, he wants to talk this trickle down economics, this trickle down situation where he wants to help every other group. But when you ask him about black people, he doesn't have much to say. It's always, black people are always being told that whatever going to benefit us will be trickled down if we do something for all these other people. And I have a personal problem with that. So the burn got ripped off because we found out that the DMC, the Democratic, National Committee, whatever the hell they call it, they were messing around trying to prop Hillary Clinton up, and it impacted Bernie Sanders. And then you had a lot of the millennials who were down with the burn, who were not happy, who decided not to vote. But I do believe personally that if the Russians were doing this, as the man you heard, James Clapper, who was in charge of intelligence in this country during those 8 years under Obama, that the Russians were interfering with black media to create a discourse to decline and decrease black vote turnout. And if that was the lowest in 20 years since 2016, you do have to look at that and say, what was going on, right? All these different variables play a role. So I'm going to leave it at that. I got a beautiful panel of brothers up here. We got the Prophet of Thought. We got the real Aaron Collins, and we got my man AM1 Uptown in the house. But let me go over to Prophet of Thought and get his thoughts about this, then take it back over to AM1, get real Aaron Collins points, and then get back on over to Brother Fletch TV, because I know he's got more goodies to break down to us. So, Brother Prophet of Thought, it's been a minute. Brother, how you doing?
Peace, Brother Info. What's good? What's good, Brother Aaron? Brother Flex, what's good, man? I see AM1 on here too, man. What's going on, brother?
See him here.
Peace, the Prophet.
Salute, Brother X. Salute, Malcolm.
Good, Brother Aaron, man. It's been a while, man.
Yeah, I know.
What's going on?
Holding up, brother. Holding up.
As far as the topic goes, and I can't stay on long, Brother Info, because I'm actually getting ready to go to a party.
Oh, okay.
I can't stay on long. But as far as this Russian interference thing, and them targeting, black folks. Now, obviously, they know what we know, right? That most black folks are where? On the Democratic plantation. True. They know that. Obviously, they know that. Because why would they pick any any group of people they could have attacked with all their resources and their hackers and their geniuses coming into these systems and coming into these media platforms and attacking Facebook, and they could have attacked any group, but they focused on who? Black folks.
Black people.
Why? Because like I said, black folks are on the Democratic plantation. Now, do I believe that that is the reason why Hillary Clinton lost? I mean, it may be a small infinitesimal reason, but I think there's more to why she lost. And some of those reasons are the reasons that you mentioned before I came on. But with Russia coming after black folks, they're really coming after the Democratic Party, because they know that the Democrats rely on black people. Because, we are the bots that RBR speaks of.
Yeah.
All right. We are the black robots. We are programmed. We are programmed to go in there and vote for anybody that's a Democrat. I mean, we're just programmed. We don't think about it at all. And they know that, and they are manipulating it, and they're going to continue to manipulate it, because they know that we are the bots. There are no Russian bots.
Yeah.
Okay. There's us black ass bots.
Exactly.
All right. Because we goddamn programmed to do shit even when it's against our own interests, just because somebody standing on a stage with a D behind their name is telling us to do it.
All right. Hey, Prophet of Thought, let me just say to everybody on the panel, including AM1, if anyone has a disagreement as to what I'm talking about, you have a different opinion, I welcome that. And I think you are spot on. The Russians realized that black people were beholding and have been beholding to the Democratic Party, which used to be called the Ditsiecrats. They knew that we were beholden to this party, and they simply saw a weakness, and they decided they were going to exploit that weakness. And there are reports that, and Joe Madison talked about, there were black people, these are the claims, that there were black people that were willing to do things like call black talk radio and say negative things to get black people to go in another direction, and they were being paid. So when I talk about Russians, I'm not necessarily saying I agree with you that we're talking about actual European Russian. I'm talking about they were able to get even black folks that look like me and you to go against their interest, whatever that interest was at that time. So I do agree with you that when we talk about Russian box, history has shown that people that look like you usually are the first ones that will sell you out, because they have a price that they're willing to sell you out for in some cases. So you make great points, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, that's because this is the stuff that I believe, brother.
That's right.
I mean, this is what I believe. I mean, I don't know everything, but I know enough that if you can influence, if you can get on media and influence people, particularly black people, if you can influence that media, you can damn near control them, man. You can damn near control them.
Right. Well, Prophet of Thought, I got to get back over to your program. Prophet of Thought, you can catch him on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Make sure you check that brother out. He's got an avatar in the chat room right now. I want everybody in the chat room to support that brother's channel. Check him out. Go over to his channel. You know what to do. And follow him. Give him love. Check him out on Thursday. Tell everybody where they can find you at, Prophet of Thought.
Well, you can catch me on the TPOT YouTube page. Wednesdays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. We got the Hours of Power. Also, Thursday night is DXL Dark X Live. It gets a little crazy on Thursdays. Actually, Brother Info Man is one of the usual suspects. So come on down there. You can catch him down there as well on a Thursday night. This Wednesday, we actually going to have Taz, aka the B1 GOAT, will be on this Wednesday, and I do believe that he's bringing Lady Nyla along as well. Thursday night, it'll probably just be a freestyle, but it's going to be some man shit. So if you want to come through and check us out on the TPOT YouTube page, come on down, subscribe. subscribe, hit me up with some likes. You can also, if you got some suggestions, some comments, some questions, some criticisms, you can find my email right on that page. Go ahead and voice your opinion. I don't care, because I'm gonna do what I want to do anyway. So with that, brother Info, I appreciate you inviting me on, but you know, my wife is tying up her dress now, so we about to breeze on around to this party. Peace to everybody. Y'all have a good stream, and I'll hit you up later, brother Info. Peace, brothers.
All right, brother. Okay. This is what I want to do. Let me give a shout out to Mary Jane, Mary Jane's TV. Y'all go over there and check out her channel and give that sister support. She has a great show. She lets you know all the latest gossip and things that are going on in Black Hollywood with Black folks and entertainment and social issues and things that are happening with us. So go give her some love, support her. She goes live quite a bit. So I want to give some peace and love to Mary Jane in the chat room. We got my man King Wage in the chat room. I see Miss Gigi in the chat room. We've got Tech Brown in the chat room. Thank you for being here. And we've got quite a good people in the chat room. I want to thank them. I'm sorry that I can't pay as much attention to the chat room, because we're really getting through this documentation, or getting through this presentation that I'm putting on here with the help of these brothers. Let me go over to AM1. All Street Looks, AM1. Brother, how you doing? Give me your opinion about this issue. I don't care if you disagree with my points. As you know, an individual that I know that you don't care for too much, and that is the real brother, was supposed to be on here with me today, which is why I had the avatar of him and me together. And now I've got a bone to pick with him, because the brother either stood me up, or either he fell asleep, overslept, or something. But I'm not happy about it, because he was the first one that told me he was down to do this with me today, because I wanted to get some of his out there opinions about this. But go right ahead, AM1.
Hey, Info man, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, brother, you sound great. Fantastic. Go ahead.
Info. Okay, cool. Just so you know, you got a little feedback coming off your mic.
Yeah.
Peace to the chat, peace to the panel, peace to you, salute to the OG, of course. And even RBR, yeah, I don't really have a problem with RBR. RBR is just kind of, you know, funny or whatever. If anything, kind of sad old man. Sad old man just wants some attention, but he has come at me directly and put my name in his mouth and in video, so that's why I have fun kind of playing with him a little bit, but it's no big deal. Now, with regard to this whole Russian bots, Russian interference, collusion, all of this stuff, I pretty much equate all of this whole discussion to this show that I recently became aware of, because I'm not a big TV type dude. But I guess there's this huge show that's been going for years called Game of Thrones. Okay. Where there's a bunch of different fuckery going on with a bunch of different white folks in these different kingdoms and whatnot. As far as I can tell, this whole political stuff between even all of them really, but even going back to Clinton and the Lewinsky and even going back to the first George Bush, but to Bush, the second Bush, Obama, into Trump, Hillary, that whole situation. All of that is political theater. It's meant to distract everybody from the fact that ultimately we are tax slaves. I think that's really what we need to understand here. And that's, from all the information I've ever been able to ascertain, that's really what's going on, to keep Americans off balance and keep us in this structured, stratified class kind of scenario, and ultimately have it fortified by us giving away a certain percentage of our money every year in April. All of this stuff is political theater. Who's running for president? They're all empty suits. They're all being manipulated by what appears to be international bankers. This whole concept about Russians interfering with what black folks are doing, people on YouTube, black folks on YouTube biting on that is silly, because then the ADOS stuff with Tone and Yvette pops up. And it's coming from information with Sandy Darity. It kind of piggybacks off some of the stuff from Claude Anderson. So these are known people that kind of get a little bit of respect in the black YouTube sphere, but then they kick out numbers like black folks owning 2.6% of the nation's wealth and black folks' wealth hardly moving since slavery. And there's people who will say, yeah, I rock with ADOS and I understand these figures. If you truly understand these figures, then you should understand we are not in a position, if these figures are even remotely true, we are not in a true position of influence to where Russian resources would be allocated to deal with us. That's just silly. If anything, that's some shit that they threw at Trump to confuse other white folks, to just conflate and confuse this whole seemingly left-wing, right-wing, red, blue, this duality concept that's getting people in this tribalism state and saying, oh, I want to be a Republican, I want to be Democrat, all the while keeping this head fake and this smokescreen going for people not to focus on what's really going on in their lives.
Yeah.
I brought up Game of Thrones because a lot of people became embedded with that whole situation, just like people get embedded with who's going to win the NBA finals and really caring about that. It's a whole bunch of shit that's not really impacting your life. And while you're focusing on these things, all of our lives are pretty much staying the same. And if the numbers are true as far as where black folks are at, it's just getting worse.
Okay.
So all of this is a distraction. It seems really silly to me that supposedly grown-ass folks have not got hip to the game, that all of what's going on with the American political structure as far as what we're seeing in mainstream media, it's all political theater. I've said it time and time again. Mainstream media is not our friend. Brother X said it himself. Media is being used to influence and control people's minds. I would say that is absolutely true, and probably to a degree that we don't even comprehend. I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, so AM1, if what you're saying is true, that we don't control the media and media can be used to manipulate use, you know, that's what makes the motion picture companies and movie industry so powerful, because they hit you with lights, magic, sound. All of that is designed to get into you emotionally. If that is true, then do you agree or disagree that it's either not possible, or that the Russians did not target black people in particular? Because like brother Prophet of Thought said, and Malcolm Fletch TV was saying, all these years that have for many years, they have been doing everything that they can to suppress the black vote, wherever that black vote is going at the time that they want to suppress. And I don't know if you heard the sound bites that I played, but the man who was top intelligence himself, he's coming out, he has a book that's out right now. He said that it is a true fact that the Russians were targeting black people and targeting particular social type medias to suppress whatever the vote, wherever they wanted it to go. They really wanted it to go away from Hillary and to go more towards Trump. Now that's what the intelligence director at the time stated. And I know for a fact, just from my experience listening to talk radio, that there were things that were going on pretty bizarre on talk radio at that time. So not to back you in a corner, brother, or anything like that, but do you think that there is some truth to this, or do you just think it's all in our heads?
Well, my perspective on it is this. You're asking me a question that's kind of front-loaded from the perspective that...
It is. I'm sorry about that.
No, and that's fine. But that's kind of my point. And I don't know if it's constructive the way I would even approach this based on this discussion, because it already appears that yourself and some of the other people on the panel and probably in the chat, and I've heard a lot of black folks talking about this stuff as if there's any foundational way we can believe any of this from the jump. Okay. Like just because some guy just because somebody has a sound bite where two USA government assets are talking about some information coming from some Russians, that's the foundation for you to believe it coming from the US government that is notorious for being shady as fuck. Like, how can you even move forward at all believing any of it?
The reason why I can believe some of it, and I'll tell you why. You're right. You're getting information from the United States government, and they have a history of being habitual liars and manipulators. We know that. But we know that Russia has a history of playing espionage as well. The reason why I can believe some of this, brother, because of the time that I grew up in. And I saw some of the things that were going on as a young man in high school, as a young man growing up and seeing the things in the games that the Russians played and how they have played the game of espionage. So I do believe that that is something that can be reality. And I do know that people in this world do use, history has shown us that groups are used to push a particular political agenda, whether it's blacks, white people, different groups are targeted, different groups are used. I know for a fact that they were in certain areas of this country, they were trying to suppress the vote. You had black people calling up that I know of that were saying, hey, I went to my usual voting place where I vote, and they were telling me that I'm not on the voting rolls. So we do know that there was a lot of things that were going on. We know that when George Bush Jr. got into the office the second time around, and no one believed that what happened to all these other votes that no one could find all of a sudden, then we find out several years after this man's been out of office that they found all these votes in the goddamn swamps where the damn alligators are playing at. They find all these votes that were never voted, and people were laughing at people saying, oh, you're talking conspiracy. Ain't nobody got rid of no votes. I'm saying that you can't trust any of the system. The system is so corrupt, but I do believe that when it comes to social media, that people do use social media to manipulate and create social engineering, because so many of us are on social media, and we know social media has an effect on our mood and how we operate. It does. So if that's the case, all it takes is somebody with their computer like me to play a little bit of games with you and create false propaganda.
May I jump in as well?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. I'll shut my mouth up. Go ahead, brother Malcolm Fletcher.
Yes, I lean toward what brother AM1 is also saying. It's like a Game of Thrones.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is because it's like sports. You know, a lot of us are sports fans. We have our favorite teams, and these teams, some of our teams may be fortunate enough to go to a championship or a Super Bowl, right? Yeah. And our team may win the championship, may win the Super Bowl, and they say, you know, hey, we won this. Okay, same thing with politics. You know, the person that you vote for may win a political position, and they use the term we, but the people are still left out to dry. The people doesn't really benefit from this individual winning this position or this championship. There's nothing tangible for those people to receive or achieve and to benefit from that person's victory or success. You know what I mean? And as Black people, when President Barack Obama won his election, we felt like we all won.
Yes.
Although we didn't really benefit anything in the long run from his election, besides the ability to being able to vision and dream big.
Right.
Okay. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because we can say that, you know, that it was the Russian bots or Russians preventing the Black vote to win the election for the Democrats, right?
Right.
But with Barack Obama being out of office, see, Black people felt like they needed a do-over. You know what I'm saying? Black people wasn't ready for Barack Obama, you know what I'm saying, to leave office. When he did his 8-year term, we was like, man, damn, like that's it. Like we need another 8 years with Barack Obama. Like all of us felt this way.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of us felt this way. So we was like, okay, who's running for president? It was like, nah, I don't really think I want to get out there and vote for these people. You know what I mean? So I say that to say is that, you know, even as Black people, me being a Muslim, I'm not really into the politics like that. Yeah. But I would like to say that none of us, we can never really underestimate the power of the black vote, you know what I mean, or the power of black unity. Because if we wanted Hillary Clinton to get elected president, she would have got elected president just based on the power of our unity. You know, we can work miracles, we can do wonders if we really put the time and effort into something. You know, can nobody really suppress black people on anything that we want to do if we really chose to do it? You know what I mean? We just didn't care enough to get out and vote enough to go out and really make it happen. You know what I mean? So I think to a degree that the Russians may play a part in it because of their dislike for Hillary Clinton, because that would be the only reason why I would see them doing such a thing. But to say that they have the ability to curtail our power if we come together, I don't think that's so. But that's just my opinion on that situation. But I do agree with AM1.
Yeah, what you brothers have done, you definitely have given me food for thought, made me rethink a few things. I think absolutely that was the premise where I was going to, is that
I want to mention something
primarily did this. Aaron, I'll be right over to you in a minute. They primarily did this because like he said, their dislike that they had for Hillary and the Clintons, and Putin kind of wanted this revenge against them. So that a lot of this has to do with that. But AM1, and you are right. You can't really believe anything that you're getting from the United States intelligence, so-called intelligence, and what's going on over across seas. You don't know, because all of it is part of manipulating all of us. I totally give you that.
Bingo.
Brother, real Aaron Collins, go right ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that I want to borrow, take a quote from what Professor Griff said, and he broke it down perfectly. He said that media stands for a mass ethnic destruction in America, and really that is what they've really been doing. It's basically like the Pied Piper, because they know a lot of times that many of us as Black people are a lot of times glued to our televisions, and the fact that we're inviting people, they play on the fact that many of us are gullible to fall for the okie doke. But AM1 actually did make a good point that when he said that everything the United States has said and done, everything that they every promise they've made, they have gone back on, they haven't not been true. So why should we believe them? So it's all making sense. Everyone's actually making some good points. What they said, what it's all boiling down to is we need to do more research. We need to pick up books and stuff on our own, and basically ascertain and acquiesce to what we really need to understand ourselves, and just stop falling for all this stuff that's going on. Because basically what it is to me is really reminiscent of COINTELPRO, how they waged a campaign against certain members of the MBPP, of the BPP and the other Black nationalist movements at the time, to divide and conquer. So it's really Willie Lynch 2.0, COINTELPRO 2.0, and that's what it all boils down to. They want to sway us and hypnotize us. So it's up to us to really decipher the bullshit from the reality and be like, okay, I'm not going to fall for this.
Okay.
There it is.
There it is. Very well said, very well stated, real Aaron Collins. Let me just, you brothers made me rethink a few things here. Totally agree with you. But on the one hand, let me just say this. Can you all agree or disagree that when it comes to Black people and voting, one, they never really wanted us to vote or have the right to vote? And do you or do you not believe that there is an effort to suppress Black people from actually voting in this country? That there's some effort, that we are a targeted group when it comes to the election season? What are your thoughts?
Let me holler at that. I would go as far as to say just addressing the overall premise of the discussion, there needs to be a total rethinking, tear down, and overhaul of how Black folks approach ingesting and consuming media and information, period. Like, I can't state that enough. If there's going to be any hope for so-called Black Americans and subsequently Black folks around the world, we have to completely think about the delivery system that is mainstream media and how information is coming into our minds and where it is coming from. Like, essentially, the same people who we claim are oppressing us have essentially a monopoly on what information is being put out and ultimately what information is coming into our minds and affecting our hearts and minds. If the understanding of slavery and Jim Crow and all the subsequent fuckery that Europeans have waged against us, it's completely ridiculous not to think that they would use every measure they could possibly come up with to curtail our ability to have influence in a political structure that they set up and with a foundation based on our free labor. Are you kidding me? Of course they would suppress our votes. And if they were trying to create a situation to where they wanted to make it seem as if they freed us and are giving us equal rights, civil rights, all these different things, of course, on the back end, they will be taking measures to undo what they're outwardly trying to give us. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they're saying they want to make us free and give us all this and make us equal to them. But think about it. The people who set this up are complete savages and made trillions of dollars off of our labor. Of course, they're going to use every possible tactic. And we've seen it. Chemical warfare, spiritual warfare, biological warfare, everything, economic warfare. They used everything against us. So all they've had since slavery, 150 years plus, to really dial this in that much more. They have pretty much unlimited resources. Again, the whole tax situation, they are literally printing money, the Federal Reserve. They have unlimited money resources. It's inflation. It's all a house of cards. They're trying to keep this whole system going and keep us at the bottom of the economic totem pole. All of these things are head fakes to keep our people off balance and off kilter. Again, it's Game of Thrones, to use that analogy. Everything we're seeing in this whole political sphere is exactly that. That shit really is them destroying America based on white folks because they outnumber us here. They're not even really worried about us, but they understand that even Game of Thrones and the political theater situation that's supposed to be real is just some extra shit for people to bite on while they're not at their punk ass day job that they hate. You get off work and then you turn on the news and you deal with this extra fuckery. Yeah, I mean, and then if it's not that, then it's sports. If it's not that, then it's another sport. If it's not that, then it's power or some other stupid shit. It's all distraction. But yeah, to your point, the whole voting situation, of course they're suppressing the ability for us to vote. But the real question is this: what are we voting for? These people are all empty suits anyway. They're all on the same team. There is no left or right. There is no conservative or, liberal. It's all a bunch of bullshit. All of this stuff is being handed down from people who are totally outside. You could even say something like a breakaway civilization. You could say something like a secret society or numerous secret societies all colluding to feed us a bunch of bullshit, keep us in the dark, feed us bullshit like mushrooms, and we're literally buying into it. Meanwhile, hyperinflation, they're printing more money, they're manipulating interest rates, and all manner of other fuckery. I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Great points. Go ahead, brother Malcolm.
Yes. In my opinion, it's the illusion of inclusion. Okay. And when you have a people who can rob, steal, and kill another people, and enslave them for over 400 years, and you can do all type of manners of wickedness to them, never giving them any type of reparatory justice, you know what I mean? Then you can never really have respect for that people. And so even in politics, whenever we decide to cry out and make our voice heard, they create a leader for us and say, and get that leader a piece of chicken and a buttered biscuit and say, go out there and talk to your people and calm them down. And they have no real plans for Black people. So they just keep us around like a parasite. You know what I mean? These are the bloodsuckers of the poor. You know, they just keep us around just so they can take our money and get fat off of us. You know what I mean? They have no real plans for us, and they don't really respect our opinions and our thoughts when it comes to politics. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan encourages us to not get involved with their military and fight their wars. Do not get involved in their politics and because it's all hypocrisy, because you know there is no real gains in getting involved in American wars and American politics for Black people. You know, I mean, a very small few of us have benefited from these things, but the majority of Black people still suffer in these slums, in these ghettos, in these communities that we go to every day, and we
Tell the truth.
we speak with our people, we live with our people, and we see the suffering of our people. And so we need Black people to wake up and understand that it is all symbol and no substance. So that would be my take on that, because we've been targeted. You know what I mean? We're going to be targeted, but we have to understand that we have to quit falling for the same tricks, because we are dealing with the slave master children, but they're using the same old strategies and tactics. Their ways has not changed.
Right, you're definitely right on with that. Let me just say something. CRU, brother, I sent you a link. So if you want to come on and say a few words about this issue, I welcome you. Come on through. Aaron, brother Aaron Collins, you have anything you want to add, brother? I'm just letting you guys do your thing.
Yeah. So bottom line is that everyone's already pretty much made it clear that they've been making it clear for these last decades that they don't want us in society. That's one thing why they have suppressed our votes, because they never wanted to count us to begin with. They never counted us as citizens. They've always counted us as property, and it's still on the books that we are property to them. That's why they don't regard our lives. That's why they can. I mean, they even still have basically it's a reenactment of like what's known as the Casual Killing Act. So that tells you right there how they really feel about us, and how some of us don't seem to get the clue that they don't want to integrate with us. I mean, there's an expression that goes like this: to go where you celebrate it and not tolerate it. And bottom line is they've just been tolerating us, but they don't celebrate us. They don't have any real appreciation for our accomplishments. They may put it on paper just to appear with the guise of being inclusive and diverse, but they really do not feel that way about us. And also, when they suppress the numbers, it's really that they want to pad out their own numbers. That's why they suppress our votes, but want to include us in anything else when it benefits them, when they can get something out of it. But it's very, very clear that they don't want to count us as citizens to begin with. That's why people in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina were called refugees and not citizens.
Right. Let me, you're right about that, Aaron Collins. That's exactly the reason why. Let me say shout out to my sister, Life with Raza. Everybody, I'm going to put a link of her channel in the chat room. Support the sister. She's a really good sister. She helps people grow their channels. Very positive sister. You know, I've gotten quite a few people that are following me now, brother Aaron Collins. A lot of them that are from Africa and from the Caribbean and places like Jamaica. People that I've been able to connect with. It's a lot of believe it or not, there's a lot of good Black folks from all over the world and here in the States that are on YouTube that really have really good streams. They treat you with respect. It's not all this nonsense that they have, you know, that you have going on sometimes on Black YouTube in particular sometimes. And they're out there, brother. There's some good people, and I've enjoyed connecting. And that's why I'll need everybody to go ahead, give this sister some love, and follow her channel. I'm gonna just put the link in there right now a few times. And we've got my man, let me give him a proper introduction. Go ahead and give that sister some support. Let me give him a proper introduction. We've got our man CRU. All right. Yeah.
Information is power.
All right, brother CRU, you're in the house. How are you doing, brother? Hit us. You've been listening from afar what we've been talking about. You know, your man RBR was supposed to be on here with me. I kept sending him links, and I even sent him links not too long ago again. And I don't know what's going on with him. He told me earlier that he would be ready to go on by 12:30 p.m. Western time. We both live in the western part of the country. And either the brother had an emergency or he fell asleep. He would have actually added some spice to this conversation. You know how RBR is. But what are your thoughts, brother?
Well, I can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. I think I saw him somewhere else.
Okay. So he stood me up then. He stood me up.
Yeah, man. You gotta know who you're dealing with, man.
I know who I'm dealing with, but he's never done that like that before because he was excited. So that's all right. I'll deal with him. I'm not gonna sit up here and badmouth him while everyone's listening.
RBR is on O'Shea right now.
I'll handle it like a man, and I'll talk to him behind the scenes and give him a tongue lashing behind the scenes.
He's up there with his cousin who the clan used to bring Christmas baskets to.
And crew, you just dropped it down on RBR.
But seriously, I don't want to disparage the brother. I'll talk to him behind the scenes. Something could have come up, or maybe he misunderstood. Maybe I was sending the link to the wrong email because I know he's got a Yahoo and a Gmail that's the same. So there's a chance that I might have made a mistake and sent it to the wrong place. But not too long ago, I sent it to his Gmail account that's similar. So maybe he'll come on at the last minute. But go right ahead, CRU. You've heard a little bit of what we've been talking about. What are your thoughts? Let me put down my values.
Well, I had just got into the conversation, but like if it's going about the title and whatnot, I saw when it happened. I guess you're the one that brought down RBR's channel, fake account.
No. Come on.
No, it was somebody spoofing you.
Yeah, but I'm not. This is not what this is about. We're not talking about that, man. That's not. I'm not talking about that. This is about the impact. If you read the title, brother, it's about the impact of Russia targeting African Americans during the 2016 election. And the brothers on here made good points that part of it is that they had a problem with Hillary Clinton, and part of trying to impact the election possibly was through impacting Black media, since Black people tend to vote in general for the Democratic Party. And so they wanted to put it, the running theory is that they wanted to fracture that. I had some sound bites on Joe Madison, the Black Eagles, his radio program. He's a reputable brother. And he had James Clapper on there, who actually was the head of intelligence under Obama. And he said that there is evidence that the Russians did target YouTube, Instagram in particular, Facebook, these type of medias to impact and create, to sway Black people's opinions towards who they were going to vote for. And Joe Madison talked about, he saw it particularly in Black radio, where he was getting, and this man, he gets millions of people that listen to him, where he was getting all these troll type calls. And I've heard in reports that there were even money being given to Black people to call up shows and push certain propaganda. That's what they say. Okay. And that there were fake rallies that were being, that they were having over in this country, that were sort of people being paid. Now that's what they say. And AM1 and brother Malcolm Fletch TV made good points. They basically said that you can't trust any of this information because we know the United States intelligence, they play a lot of games to manipulate us. The mass media manipulates us. So we're always being manipulated, sort of like they gave a example of the Game of Thrones. So you can't really believe any and everything that you see and hear when it's coming from a source that may not be reputable either way. Because
Okay, so y'all already said what I was going to say about it. Then I don't
let's hear your perspective, though, brother.
Yeah, because I'm like, all right. So if they're mad about the Russians in our elections, right? Why are we in everybody else's elections? And I say we as the country of the United States. We are Americans, right?
Yeah.
But like, why are we in everybody else's business, affecting their elections, starting shit? We can mention Gaddafi, we could mention Charles Taylor, we could mention several others. We're interfering in or creating propaganda to get other countries to think like us, right? It's just like we do on YouTube, right? You want my perspective, I want your perspective, right? Then we go through the information and we pick out what's right. But I don't agree with you all the time. You don't agree with me all the time. I don't agree with Aaron AM1 all the time. Malcolm Flex, greetings, man. I've never spoken to you before. Greetings to you.
Yeah, he's a good brother. Check out his channel too, brother. You gotta check him out.
Oh, I'll be watching him. I'll be watching him. I just haven't spoken to him before. But yeah, it's like we're bringing our information or what we know or our knowledge to other channels, trying to influence. And then if my information is debunked, then fine. Then I can take that information myself. But the government, yeah, I say, you know what I mean? As for when it goes to influencing elections and everything, when has that not ever been done? It's always been done. It's forever.
You know,
so it's like, deal with it.
You're right, brother, because I did mention that in part of this program today. I did say that what goes around comes around. These are hens coming home to roost, because this country has been involved in creating coups, has gotten involved in other people's governments. Look what's happening over in Venezuela, how the United States is sticking their head into that. And I had also mentioned that there's a guy who's done interviews by the name of John Perkins, who talks about an issue of economic hitmen and how the United States is basically what you would call an empire who likes to go around manipulating and trying to control, like the Romans, other countries, creating coups, putting in puppet leaders that they can control and manipulate, which is why they had to get rid of Gaddafi. You know, he was talking about putting Africa under a one currency and unifying them. He had water resources. We know that there was and Malcolm Fletch, you could probably speak to this better than I can, brother. Is it true or not true that Gaddafi had a relationship and he definitely respected the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and that he was giving money to support some of your programs? Is that true or not? Because I don't want to put out falsehood, but wasn't there a relationship there in terms of empowering Black people? Was there some relationship there? Do you know this or not?
Yes, sir, beloved. And also peace to you, CRU. I apologize that I missed your greetings, brother. Yes, sir, there was. You know, when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was among us, he loaned the Honorable Elijah Muhammad some money. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad used it to help build the Black nation, paid the brother back. Then Brother Muammar Gaddafi loaned the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I believe, $5 million to start the Clean and Fresh program. And that money was paid back as well. I believe that was back in probably the late 80s, early 90s. And then Muammar Gaddafi was so impressed with what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was doing that he wanted to make the minister the head of all of the economics over Libya. And he offered to donate the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan $1 billion. And he actually sent the money to the minister's hotel room. So the brothers that were there, you know, there's a brother by the name of Captain Shahid. out of Los Angeles. There's and also the Supreme Captain, the minister's son, Brother Mustafa. You know, they brought all the money to the minister's hotel room in duffel bags, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan turned the money down, and because he said, you're not gonna, you know, you're my brother, but you can't buy me. So Muammar Gaddafi was like, well, brother, you know, I'm going to give this to you as a donation. There's no strings attached with this money. This is strictly a donation. So the minister like, are you sure? So, you know, Muammar Gaddafi, you know, reassured him like, you know, this isn't for any strings attached or anything. This is just so you can help build the Black community. So the minister had plans on help supporting other Black organizations, because many of them were receiving funding for certain Jewish people. So he wanted to get these Black organizations out of the he wanted to get these Black organizations out of Jewish pockets. So he was going to fund these Black organizations, but what America did, the government shut it down. You know what I'm saying? So they said that the minister couldn't receive any type of funding from a known terrorist. So the minister went back and forth to court from it. But Brother CRU does make a good point that America is known for interfering in the affairs of other nations. You know, all throughout the Americas, the South Americas, you know, all in Asia, you know, all in the Middle East. You know, America has a record of interfering with other people's affairs, and then they think Black people is so ignorant and so gullible to where you can tell us to where we got to get upset with Russia for interfering in America's affairs, you know, when you've been interfering in other people's affairs for a very long time. But this is how they get us. They want us to believe, okay, they are interfering with the Black vote. So this is a reason why Black people need to be upset with Russians. Okay, when and in truth, we have no stake, no type of equity or no type of say-so that actually goes on. Hell, a lot of white people don't have any say-so what goes on with this country, and they got nerve to try to get us to believe that we got any say or what happens in this country. You know what I mean? So yeah, just to answer your question, you know, the minister did have relations with Brother Muammar Gaddafi and many other leaders whom America would like to deem as evil or wicked, but come to find out that it's just nothing but media propaganda.
Let me just, brother, great points. So let me throw this question out here. Black people have more to be concerned about than the Russians when most of our hell and our oppression and the mistreatment by the intelligent agencies of this country has been towards targeting Black people, particularly when we organize in groups to empower ourselves. So really, we should, the point I'm making is, are we as Black people, and myself doing this program today, should we really pay less attention to this because there are a hell of a lot more fish to fry that's happening to us here in America 365 days of the year and historically? What are your thoughts? Maybe it's a little than what I asked, but what are your thoughts?
Let me holler at that. Like, relative to these kind of things, like all of the political theater, the whole issue with what the Russians did, the Hillary versus Trump, who's going to be next, all of it is a bunch of nonsense. And I would say, and not that I fully even trust them, but Tone and Yvette, what they're doing with the ADOS thing is extremely interesting, because if it is truly grassroots, then I see why it would be very dangerous. And it does appear that mainstream media has hot potato that they don't know exactly what to do with it. If they talk about it too much, it's going to bring too much free publicity to it. So they have to try to shut it down. Apparently, they tried to even use the Russian bot flex about the ADOS movement. So that's very interesting. But I mean, if you want to talk about black folks, and what we're really talking about is America as we know it as a whole being manipulated by what appears to be international banking interests and just a whole other, like I said before, breakaway civilization, multiple secret societies operating with vast amounts of wealth, essentially printing money and hoarding precious metal resources and, you know, ability to get coltan out of the ground and that sort of stuff. We really need to be overhauling how we're engaging with this media. I said it before. We have to kick the legs out from under the power they have. They're trying to pin down white folks here and especially black folks here, like keep us at the bottom while they further pin down those folks. Like opioid crisis, where's the opioids coming from? I mean, where did the cocaine come from? Like we already know what it is with that. So we see what these people are doing, and all of this stuff is going to impact us that much more simply because we have less overall wealth. We have less of a way to buffer ourselves from this. We have less of a way to make connections with Africa or other melanated type of groups. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's looking all bad on so many different levels, and everybody's head is in the sand. Again, focused on Game of Thrones or the so-called real Game of Thrones of dealing with Trump tweeting some stupid shit every time we turn around. Now we're gonna have to deal with Joe Biden just hopped in the race. All of this nonsense. It was Kamala Harris. It was even Jesse Smollett. That was tied to Kamala Harris. Like you know about that info, man. Like all of this stuff is so much. Like that whole Jesse Smollett thing is a perfect example of how this stuff is Hollywood theater overlapping into supposedly real mainstream political theater. That's a perfect demonstration of it. And I'm sure we'll see more similar things like that. But we absolutely have to unplug from mainstream media. Mainstream media is not our friend, or we have to be looking at it with a total critical, analytical thinking mind. And let me try to summarize this and not be long-winded. We have to, our people are so behind the eight ball as far as wealth that we are so susceptible to falling into needing pacifiers and things to placate us, because for the most part, black folks are working, doing jobs we don't like. Then we got to deal with the kids. We got a few hours in a day where we can decompress our minds and get into some fantasy land shit. But that's exactly what we can't do. Because if we do, it's game over. Like with the little sliver of time you have to actually think for yourself and try to make a next move, if you're just entertaining yourself with sports or theater or political theater, it's all bad, man. Like we got to be leveling up skills and resources. I talk about that all the time. It's something I've done. It's changed my life. Now, sure, I enjoy some things here and there, entertainment wise, but I'm always looking at it with the filter of what are they trying to program us with? Because I'm a visual media producer. I understand the whole idea. It's mind control. I want to elicit a certain feeling. I want to essentially program your mind based on the information I'm trying to provide. I'm doing it with low to no budgets in the things I do for my clients. There's people with billions of dollars, unlimited money, who can pay people to engineer everything they want you to believe, and it's working. We'll leave it at that.
AM1, do me a favor, brother, because you have this experience and you can speak upon this. Let everybody know if you feel comfortable. Let everyone know. I know you kind of explained it a little bit, but let everyone know what kind of business you're in, what you do, and why you know exactly what the hell you're talking about.
Okay, so I mean, I do.
To this.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a videographer, editor. I do a lot of corporate, nonprofit, visual media, motion graphics, all this stuff you see essentially on TV. I mean, they have higher powered cameras than I do. Everything I do is at a very small scale, but I mean, I've studied this stuff, and I have background with hip hop, music, events, essentially various forms of media. I'm literally a multimedia producer and a creative consultant here in the Bay Area, AM1 Creative Consulting. And then I have my whole own other urban media brand. We did a rebrand earlier this year, All Studios, all things creative, all by design, all heart, all hustle. Some of our taglines. So we do urban hip hop events, soul, dance events, a lot of different true cultural things, like really embedding that. And we're also going to tie that together with mental health work. So I'm working with Conscious Voices African American Wellbeing Center. So I'm sitting at the foot of a real G'd up executive director and therapist. She's kicking down a lot of game. She's given me the keys to the kingdom for outreach and media visual production for Conscious Voices. So it's all tying together. So AM1 Creative Consulting, that's what I do. Video, editing, graphic design, motion graphics. I understand how this stuff works. We want to have flashing images draw you in. We want to even have music that is of a certain melody and chord structure that's going to capture your mind a certain way. If you think about how music affects your overall mood and your being, like from how it goes in your ears to how you can even feel music, like its vibration, it's such a deep thing. If I can couple that with information that's giving you 80% truth, but the 20% of lies are going to really embed in your consciousness and shape what you think about this world. If I can pull that off, I've done my job. And that's just the small scale stuff I'm doing here in Oakland, California. Imagine whole governments with unlimited budgets. We understand the nature of propaganda. Mainstream media is the biggest mind control weapon ever known to man.
Okay.
And people are using unlimited budgets and resources to be able to deploy whatever ideas they want on all of us, and it's working.
Okay, let me do this, and let me give a clap for Life with Raza. She gave me a super chat. I really appreciate that, sister. So this is for you.
Information is power.
And everybody out there, if you have not done so, please go ahead and support the channel here.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel.
Okay, let me get over and thank everybody that's in the chat room. We've got August Dreams out there, Sonia Sees, Brother Aduvian. Thank you for being here, Brother Aduvian. The Great Shark is out there. There's a variety of really good people in the chat room that are very supportive. I told you about Mary Jane. Check her channel out. Queen I Know I Am is out there. There's some folks that are in the chat room. We got let's see, we got Said Jones, what's up to you? Howard, what's up to you? Mrs. Gathers, what's up to you, sister? The famous Blackberry, peace to you. Everybody that's coming to the chat room that's supporting, do me a favor and share this video in your social media so that more people can hear what we're talking about, because I think it's very important. Let me go over to Brother, real quick, Malcolm Fletch TV. And brother, won't you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and tell people a little bit about yourself, brother.
Yes, family, this is your brother Malcolm Flex TV, student member of the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You can also find me at Malcolm Flex TV on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and if you want to connect with me on Facebook, you can also find me at Alfonso X Moore. And yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. We got a lot of information. And I appreciate brothers like Brother Info Man and the panel for allowing your brother to tune in and give my 2 cents to a great conversation. And I hope it continue on in the future. So thank you.
Oh, most definitely. Let me go over to CRU. CRU, brother, let folks know a little bit about yourself and where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm on my channel, CRU Reality. I'll drop the link in the chat. I do appreciate you having me on. It's a great discussion. I also do make music too. So if you check out my streams from yesterday or whatever, I got some new tracks.
Yeah, he does produce music. So any of you out there who may need music for your channels, introduction, whatever, the brother does it always fantastic. Go right ahead. I'm sorry, I'm giving you your own introduction.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'll come through for the conversation. We are all in like the same circles, kind of. So you know what I mean. I'm all about like discussion and everything. we don't have to agree on everything, but like, let's build. We do have time for the effery, I guess, sometimes, but in general, let's just all try to build. If we gonna have entertainment, but let the entertainment be edifying. Just like AM1 was saying, they use all these shows and stuff that are entertaining, but it's brainwashing. But it's entertaining brainwashing. So you gotta find a balance.
Brother, let me tell you something. One of the best things that I did, I had my damn mic too far, so I was slunched over. But one of the best things that I did was to get rid of my cable package. I've got rid of my cable a year ago, and I can tell you I never come home and missed regular TV or even cable TV. I spend more time doing my YouTube, my podcasting that I do now, reading, going out and enjoying, life as best you can, given you whatever the circumstances are. I really don't miss it. I miss what's happening. Like when people talk about Game of Thrones, I have no clue anymore. I don't watch this stuff.
But even I did the same thing, Info Man. And but even so, I still watch Game of Thrones. So there is a way, there is a way to give them the $10 a month to have your HBO, or there are other ways.
Yeah, I mean, I like my sports. I might go, and watch a game at, one of the little sports facilities or something, or, I figure out ways to still get my sports fix. But for the most part, I don't really need to watch all the little shows. I have Netflix. I watch movies and, little streams and stuff like that I'll order and, watch. But for the most part, I'm not in. The TV doesn't have my mind and my eyes glued to it as it once did before. And sometimes you got to experiment on yourself like this and see, do you really miss it? And for me, I don't really wake up worrying about it anymore. I just, and I think being able to engage with you brothers and spend more time using my brain to learn from people, I think it's been a blessing for me so far. So,
I would agree, Info Man, because like basically if we're watching TV, they're just downloading information to us. We don't have any pushback on it. We can't say, wait, I don't agree with what you're saying. Now, if it's this, then how is this? How is that? We are able to have the feedback right here with differing views and still come back. And like, even though we might not agree on everything at the end of the day, we're still smarter for it because we can stand firmer on what we know.
Yeah. Check this out. Sonia Sees, who's been a long time follower of my channel. I mean, she's been going way back with me so far. She said that cable is dead and the internet connection gives you all the TV and more. And then I got to give a shout out to Brother King Wage, who said this is a great stream. It really makes me, I got to tell everybody out there in the stream that listening, when I get that kind of feedback from people, it's a good feeling because you want to hope that what you're doing, it's educating people. People are learning something. People enjoy what they're listening to and watching. That's a good feeling because that's what all I'm trying to do. Everybody, let me make this announcement too. Originally, I was supposed to today drop a video, a pre-produced video about black hair. Very interesting things are going on here in California around that and across the country. And I ended up moving that live stream or that stream to another day. Maybe I'm going to move it to this next upcoming weekend because of doing this particular live stream today. So the black hair is coming, folks. I'm just going to drop it closer to the weekend. It's a pre-produced video. I think that you all are going to love the video and the approach that I took and what is going on in the country, particularly here in California around black hair and the discrimination against black people in their hair. I just tell you this, not to give it all away. You probably already know this, but in California right now, there's a sister by the name of, her name is Mitchell. She got an assembly bill passed, SB 188, the Crown Bill, which says now in California in particular, you cannot discriminate against black people for wearing our hair, whether it be locks, cornrow style, afro style, fade style, whatever we like to wear. You cannot discriminate against us. And if you do, there are things in the law that protect us, and we can file lawsuits against you. So no longer can employees, not that they're not going to try to do it, but there is a law on the books that was passed by the State Assembly of California. And part of my black hair video that I put together, a part of that is going to be in there. And I think to the sisters, the video really speaks to black people, but I think the sisters out there are really going to get a nice treat out of what I put together on this video. And I do talk a little bit about colorism in the video, and a little bit about how we sort of get into this whole skin color thing. You know, what I touched on that just a little bit in there. So that video, be on the lookout. It will be coming to a theater near you this upcoming following weekend coming up. So I thank you for those of you who are still here listening. As we get to the conclusion of this, I just want to say to any of the brothers on the panel, does anyone, Brother Aaron Collins, first of all, can you let everybody know who you are, what you're into, brother, and where they can find you too? Let me be respectful here. Go right ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So my name is Aaron Collins, the real Aaron Collins. I could be reached. I could be seen on YouTube at the real Aaron Collins. I'm also an independent filmmaker myself. I shoot music videos and stuff like that. AM1 and crew, we definitely have to collaborate. I'm based here in LA. I really enjoy these panels and stuff like this. I like to encourage people, have compassion for my people. When we say that I have love for Black people, that doesn't mean we hate everyone else, but we just love our people. And I want to go on and say this, that as Black people, we have to stop falling for the banana in the tailpipe, so to speak. Do our own research and question everything. We have to stop being so gullible and stop falling for what everyone else tells us, because that's one way they've been able to get us, because we are just so gullible. We're so quick to believe what, as Impleman would say, what the mayonnaise people would say, but when one of our own says it, we want to question it, like, yeah, right, whatever, man, get out of here with that. Don't even give us the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. So, I want to also send a shout out to, I don't know if I acknowledged the brother before, the Malcolm Flex TV. Salute to you, brother, and as well. So.
Salute, brother.
Let me, hey, brother Flex, I want to apologize to you, brother. I think some time ago or a month or so, you had mentioned to me that you were going to be putting together panels and you wanted me to be a part of that. And I just want to apologize to you if I have not communicated with you properly around that area, brother. But whatever you've got going on, I definitely like to join in and be a part of that and contribute any kind of way I can. But brother, what do you have in the works on your channel, brother? What do you have in the works? I want more folks to come over and support what you're doing. Everyone that's in this chat room, you need to, if you have not already, follow Brother Mex. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is put your channel in the chat room. So, Brother Flex, do me a favor, because it will make it that much easier for me.
Yes, sir.
Can you write something in the chat room so I can click your avatar real quick, and then I can start popping your links in there? Because I want folks to support your channel. Yes, but go ahead and let us know while you're doing that what videos or programs you might have in the works that we don't know about.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what the panel that you mentioned, I wanted to call it the Council of the Gods.
Yeah.
And I would love for all of the brothers, whenever you have time, whenever we have a panel, so just come on, contribute, and just share your thoughts, because there are a lot of brilliant minds on this panel today, and a lot of these panel discussions, I'm always impressed and blown away by the brothers and sisters who are on these panels. So that's what that is for. Also, I have a video, a documentary coming out for those who really don't know who the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is. and it'd be like a short mini documentary, you know, just something. It's like an introductory documentary to those who are curious about who he is, but don't and heard of him, but don't necessarily know who he is and the things that he has done. That'll be like a part 2. And also, I'm just, you know, just waiting, man. There's an individual in the community who is supposed to be doing a documentary exposing the Nation of Islam and the whole Malcolm X situation. So your brother just been kind of waiting for that, man, because we gonna rebut that. Me and brother Ben X, we have a audio recording. I'm not sure if anyone has heard the audio recording, but there's an audio with brother Malcolm X online. It's like a 2.5-minute audio of him apologizing to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Oh, wow.
So what me and brother Ben X have, we have an actual recording of brother Malcolm X, brother Minister Malcolm, and it's the same audio, but this one is a 46-minute audio. Okay, so a lot of us heard the 2.5-minute audio, but we have a whole 46-minute audio. So your brother just been in the cut, you know what I'm saying, line in the cut, man, waiting for this expose documentary to come out, man, because there are people in the community that are being very counterproductive. So we just about to pick this whole thing apart. So that's what your brother has been working on. That's what your brother has been up to. So if you would like to support me, please click the link that brother Info Man put it in the chat room, and go ahead and subscribe, man, because we have a lot of good information on there, you know. And again, I appreciate every single member on this panel, and I appreciate you a lot, brother Info.
All right, I appreciate that. Yeah, everybody, I put links in there, so go right ahead and click that link and support that brother. Support everybody that's on the channel today. What I may just turn around and do is put everyone's links in the description of this video at the conclusion of this, and so that way when people come back to the channel, if they need to, they can find everyone's links in the description of the video as well. So what I want to say to everybody in the chat room so far, thank you for your support. I see people that are in the chat room that I go over to their channels and try to give them support. Thank you all for being with us today. I'm going to conclude this video, this live stream. I think that it was a productive conversation. No one was arguing with each other. Everyone made their points. I am disappointed that RBR was not with us. I think he would have added an extra flavor and controversy to the panel. I'm going to have to contact him and find out exactly what happened. I'm not going to badmouth the brother. I'll just deal with it behind the scenes and talk to him, because that's what a man does. So everybody out there, peace to you for being with us. Peace to the panel. You brothers are the best. And I'm sure there'll be other discussions that we'll have around a variety of issues that we as Black people, as people in this world, need to definitely examine. God, what else I wanted to say? There's something else I wanted to talk about. Well, I'll probably make a video out of it or something. So, brothers, thank you for being here. Everybody, I'll give you the concluding music for today. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great week. And like I said, again, I'll be back with the black hair video, which is going to be very interesting, what I put together. Oh, let me give everybody a reminder. I guess I'm doing my own marketing here. I'm a podcaster. So I have a podcasting system that I use. The sound is going to be different than the sound that you're hearing on the YouTube. It's going to sound like a radio program, because that's exactly what it is. So you can catch me on that program by looking at the description of this video, where it says, check out my podcast channel. I'm on a variety of different platforms. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Archer. I'm soon to be on Google Podcast, iHeart Podcast, iTunes, as well as what's the other one? Oh, that we got a Podcast Beam that I'm on. Cat's Box.
Anchor.
So,
Anchor TV.
Yeah, I'm on Anchor. But some of those platforms, I still got to load up some stuff on there. And you can also, if you want to follow my Instagram page, I have Information Man Show. is my Instagram page to the YouTube. And if you want to follow me on my podcasting Instagram page, you can simply go to Information Man Podcast 06. And on Facebook, I have a podcast page, which I'm still putting together, but there's content on there that you can look at. And that's called Information Man Podcast. So the podcast, is different from the YouTube content. On the podcast, you're going to get different content. So when you go on there, you don't have to worry about saying, hey, I already heard that because I watched his YouTube channel. No, you're going to get fresh material that you didn't hear on the YouTube channel. And it's going to be enjoyable because you can take it with you wherever you are. If you're using your tablet, using your computer at home, or using your handheld device, you can download my podcast to your phone and listen to it and then delete it after that. So you can listen to what I'm talking about in the morning, daytime, on the run. And the material that I'm putting on the podcast is going to be good. And the sound is going to be crystal clear. The special effects, it's going to be like a podcast radio station because I'm using. Now, I'm working out of Spreaker, and from Spreaker, a lot of the podcast system that I'm using is on Spreaker, and it expands itself. So if you got iHeartRadio, if you got Spotify on your phone, an app, you can find me on there. You can find me under Information Man Podcast, sometimes under Information Man Show. Check out the podcast. I'm probably going to do a live podcast today, sometime after I get off of here, because there's so much material that I want to talk about, and I have material that I have not loaded up yet. So check me out on there on the social medias, and if you want to get me on Twitter, you can catch me at Clinton CLINTON 06 @Clinton. And I even also have an Information Man Show Facebook page that's different from the podcast page. So in the description of this video, you'll see the podcast there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. Brother Aaron is gone right now. And let me play a little bit of music for you all. Hope you enjoy. Information Man, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Information is power.
You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Information is power. You are listening to Information Man. Please make sure to subscribe to his channel. Tell the truth.
Peace, everybody. Thank you for your support. I love you. I do this because I enjoy doing this, but I enjoy trying to inform people. When I learn about stuff, when I educate myself to information that I'm able to find or gather or research, I enjoy learning from other people. We're all in this together, learning and sharing information, which is why I use the name Information Man. And I learn from other people. And I think we got to stay on top of what's happening to us in this world. We can never be asleep at the wheel. So thank you. You, all of you in the chat room and all that have been listening, you motivate me to think about what can I do next to top that. I'm telling you right now, you're going to enjoy the pre-produced video that I did about black hair. To the sisters out there, you're really going to appreciate the video that I will be launching. I could launch it tomorrow, but after you get home from work, you kind of get a little tired. I want to launch it during the weekend to maximize the number of people that will be able to watch it in the comfort of not having to worry about going to work or something. So thank you, everybody out there, for supporting the program as you have. This is the Information Man, and I'm out.
Information is power.